Hello, everyone. It's another amazing day in Manitoba, Canada. The sun is out actually today. It was rainy and cloudy most of the day, and sun was peeking in and out, but it's out right now. I am in the motorhome just because everything's soaking wet and there's wood ticks, so I don't want to walk down by the river. So, otherwise, that's exactly what I would be doing. The wood ticks are super bad this year because it's not hot. They don't like the heat. They don't like dry. So they usually leave as soon as it gets hot and dry. And I'm hoping July will be hot and dry. Fingers crossed. We're hoping. So, um, so I don't know. I've steered clear of talking um, about things with the world at large, right? My channel is supposed to be sobriety and health, fitness, and but I think that I think it all goes together, and the way the world is going right now, especially Canada. I can't speak about anywhere else because I'm not from there. But in Canada, it's not such a pretty picture right now. It's very sad to see what's happened to the country that I grew up in, that I really loved when I was younger. Um, it's always had its problems. Canada is not perfect in any way. Um, the problems now are really bad, and you can really see it if you have your eyes open. And the problem is most people don't have their eyes open. They've they they're they're either they either don't have their eyes open, or they're completely brainwashed by foolish people that are, and some people are easily brainwashed. Like COVID proved that. There's a lot of people that got brainwashed by that. They still believe that that shot that they wanted to get everybody to take was good for them. I have people in my life that still fight me on it, are mad at me still because I refuse to take it. Um, so they're easily brainwashed. Those people in my life, I kind of limit what I listen to from them. I don't give them too much credit because they're sheep, man. They're sheep. They can't think for themselves. Um, and it reminds me a little bit of when I was an addict, right? When I was an addict, the addiction told me what to do, right? The addiction told me, hey, we need to get drugs now. And that's what I did. We need to get booze now, right? Like now, boom, that's what we're doing. Um, and I'm trying to watch what I say because um, I don't want to get too many haters in the following, and I don't want to get well. Here's an example here of why I'm trying to be careful. Is if I want to travel to the United States, I have to give the border crossing guards, the Homeland Security guys, my phone and access to my phone and computers and my social media accounts for the last 10 years. And they will judge based on what they find there whether I'm allowed to go through the border or not. Right? And so that might only happen, say, once every 100 or 1,000 people that cross the border, right? At this time. But in 10 years from now, with AI and everything, um, they're going to know pretty much everything that people are doing as they cross the border from Canada to the United States. And I really want to go traveling. Like that's my goal. Now that I'm in my 50s, or I'm 51, and I really want to go travel. And I have to and I don't want to fly everywhere, right? And the reason I don't want to fly everywhere is because I want to have a vehicle, and I want to take my time, and I want to check out the United States for one. Like, I've never spent much time there. I've gone down to Nebraska and South Dakota and a couple places for like a week here and there in my life. Not very much at all. So I want to take my time and I want to drive around, right? And so one winter I want to just cruise through the Western United States, right? Stay on some BLM land in my crazy van that I want to build out. I have this motor home, but it's way too expensive to drive like that. And for one person like me, now that I'm single, there's no point. There's just no point. So I have to watch what I say on this channel, because in a few years they're going to use it against me in the court of opinion of whether I can go to the United States or not, or I can fly, or I can leave Canada. Or it sounds crazy, like all this stuff that I'm saying. If you would have told me that 25, 30 years ago when I was in my 20s, I would have said you're fucking crazy, right? Like, they're never going to allow that. The United States is a democratic country. They're not going to allow all this surveillance and all this stuff. Canada is a free country. We're never going to allow all this surveillance and policing what people say on the internet and what the people say in the privacy of their own homes to their own families. They're not going to do that stuff, right? But unfortunately, they are. They've already started here in Canada. They're doing it a lot in the UK, and whatever happens in the UK takes a year, 6 months to a year or so, and then it gets implemented in Canada. Like that's just what I see all the time. Every time something happens, right? It starts over there and it comes here. It doesn't take very long, and we implement it, right? And so we have to be careful what we say and how we talk about stuff. That being said, I have seen the dark side of Canada. Especially, I haven't been out east to Toronto, but I have been to Vancouver 2 years ago, and I have lived in this motorhome, driving around the country, driving around British Columbia, staying on the side of roads, staying in, they call it boondocking, staying in Walmart's, Costco's, anywhere that we could park for free. And we did that because we didn't have a lot of money, but we wanted to travel. So that was a way for us to travel, but not have to pay a bunch of money. And any of you from the United States that are watching on the Western United States, you got BLM land that you can go park on for like next to nothing a night. Like it's cheap. Lots of provinces in Canada, like Manitoba and Saskatchewan and Alberta, there's lots of spots you can go and park cheap, right? Or free. And no one gives a crap. No one cares. In British Columbia, it's a completely different story. If you want a cheap or free place to stay, you're going to be way up the mountain, about an hour to 2 hours away from any civilization. Because all the rest of the land is occupied, controlled, and heavily policed. So boondocking is extremely difficult, especially in a big ass 28 foot motorhome. Like, I don't know what I was thinking. I thought it was going to be easier, but it was not. It was not easy. I got a bunch of fines. I got yelled at, screamed at, called homeless, and all constantly by people. And it was very sad. It was very sad that that's how people saw it. It's very sad that it is true that a lot of people are homeless, and this is what they live in and year out for years now, because they can't afford an apartment or a house and a car to get to work and back, and the food and the utilities and all the stuff it takes to run that household. just for an example, I'll just give you an example. When I was in Penticton, the first year I moved to British Columbia, we rented a 2-bedroom, rotten little black mold infested dump. An absolute dump. The pipes froze in the winter solid. We couldn't flush the toilet or wash dishes or wash ourselves. The landlord said, "Oh yeah, that's pretty normal. Happens every year." Didn't tell us before we rented the house, but that happens every year. The heating bill for that little shack was like $400, $500 a month in the winter. Like for 2 months, it was ridiculous, right? And we had the privilege of paying $1,850 a month to rent that dump shack. And the only reason we did is that's the only place we could find that would accept us and our pets at that time. It has since gotten a little better, but not much. Not much at all. And then when we moved to Vernon, we were about 40 minutes outside of the city, down a windy, crazy road. Especially in the winter, it was insane to drive down. With no services, no nothing. They didn't even come and plow our road. Right? When it snowed, you were on your own. One of the neighbors had a tractor up the mountain more, and he would plow a trail for his wife to get to work because he worked online. And that's the only way we could get out of there was because he took his tractor and plowed up. The city, the town, the municipality, they didn't even come close to plowing out our area. They plowed the highway way down the mountain, but they didn't plow out our area. The yard we were in was so steep, you couldn't even drive your car down the driveway. If we made the mistake once of driving the minivan down to unload some groceries, and this is in the summer. This wasn't even in the winter. This is in the summer. And we barely got up the hill. It took us like 10 tries, 12 tries to get up this hill. And we spun out and made huge, buried the front end of the minivan over and over and over again, trying to get up this hill to get out. We never parked down there again. We never drove another vehicle down there ever again. And it was a decent house. It was an okay house. It was old, but it was an okay house. That was $3,000 a month. And that was a deal. We got a deal on that house. Right? Other houses in the neighborhood, they wanted like $4,800 a month for pretty much the same house. Who can afford this? Who can afford this? Especially if you have kids. If you have kids and you want to put them in soccer or hockey or baseball or something, or take them to basketball practice or buy them new shoes or any of that stuff, and you're a normal working person, right? Because normal working people, even in British Columbia, made $25 an hour, $20 an hour. That's what the majority of people make. So how do you afford that? How do you afford to feed everybody and clothe everybody and pay all your bills and do all your stuff? Right? You can't. You end up living in a trailer in Walmart parking lot. Which sounds so sad. It's so sad. And then something else I saw, I'm sure I said this in another video, when we were meeting people in these parking lots where we would stay, because when we go to a city or something or an area, we would stay there for a few weeks. We wouldn't just go there for 2 days and then piss off to the next one, because we were looking for where we were going to move next. So we actually wanted to see the community. We wanted to get to know all the little back roads and just see what it's like and meet some of the people and go to the farmers markets. We really like farmers markets. I really like farmers markets. We wanted to do all that stuff. So to do that, you got to spend a couple weeks there at least. Really, you should spend a few months. If you really want to get to know a place, spend 6 months there. Right? That'll give you a pretty good idea if you want to live there or not. But But we didn't have that kind of time. So we spent 2-3 weeks in each area where we thought maybe we would want to be. And what we saw was insane. Absolutely insane. The legacy, I'll call them that, legacy media in Canada does not show us anywhere near what's actually going on out there. The fentanyl and drug problem is insane. I keep using that word because I don't know what else to say. I just don't. When we were driving around British Columbia, especially on Vancouver Island, it was very noticeable. But even in the Okanagan and around Vancouver and Abbotsford and Surrey and all those areas, there was homeless people everywhere. Everywhere you turned, there was homeless people. Everywhere you looked, there were people like those living zombies, right? They're frozen in time, frozen in space from the fentanyl and the tranquilizers that they mix together. I don't know exactly what they call it, but it really messes them up. And they're everywhere. Everywhere you look. Everywhere you look. And everywhere you look, there's garbage everywhere. This is supposed to be beautiful, British Columbia. There's garbage everywhere. Everywhere we went, it was just filthy. Absolutely disgusting. And the locals blame it all on the homeless people. And I remember we were in Abbotsford. I think I might have said this in a previous video. And we were parked in the Walmart. And we were having lunch. And we were just watching what was going on around us. Because, again, it's insane. It's insane what's going on. We're watching like, holy crap. And this brand new fucking F-250 Lariat, fully loaded, like $100,000 truck at least. At least. Because he had big fancy rims on there and all kinds of shit. He pulls up in front of us. And this fat little dude jumps out. And he walks around the back. And he opens the tailgate. And he takes a mattress out of the back of his truck and throws it on the side of the Walmart parking lot. In the bush. Like right next to where everybody parks. Grabs about 6 garbage bags. Throws them there too. Goes into the back of his truck. Sweeps the garbage out of his truck onto the fucking parking lot. Closes the tailgate. Jumps in his truck and drives away. Like, I'm just sitting there in shock, right? Because I'm believing the locals. Oh, it's all these homeless people. No, it's not. No, it's not. Watch people come out of Walmart. They got their McDonald's bag from being in Walmart, and they jump in their car and they're sitting there for about 10 minutes. Then all of a sudden they just throw the bag out the window. Same thing at Costco. Same thing at Costco, man. These people come out. They got this huge box of food. Like a full pizza and a couple hot dogs and some ice cream and all this stuff. We're sitting there. We just bought groceries. We're unloading stuff. We're making ourselves lunch again. Which again, at lunchtime, right? Probably about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. These people sit there. And we watch their kids get out and run around a bit and whatever. And they're doing their thing, whatever they're doing. And just before they drive away, they take the whole box of stuff. And they don't place it outside. No. The husband just, out the window, just dumps it. Dumps everything everywhere. It blows in the wind. It's fucking gone. There's stuff everywhere. And they drive away. Like, this is the world we're living in, right? And I'm watching this. I'm from the prairies. I'm from a little town. Like, if you throw a gum wrapper on the floor, on the ground, I mean, one of the locals is going to freak on you, right? Here I'm watching these people throw garbage everywhere, and blame it on the homeless people. Like, I think about it, and I'm like, what the hell is going on in this world that we're in? Right? This is Canada, baby. This is Canada. So we're staying in these places, we're watching what's going on, and we start to see the same people, right? The same people in those parking lots every time we come back there. It's the same cars, same people. And so we start talking to them. I start talking because I like to talk, right? I like to flap my mouth. So I start talking to these people. And I'm kind of keeping track of who I'm talking to and how old they are and what their story is. You know what I mean? And almost everyone, like, unless they were like tranked out, right? Like those, and you could really tell because those guys were dirty, smelly. Their clothes were all over. They were completely dehydrated, disheveled. They usually slept under a tarp. So those are the druggies, right? The other people living in their cars and in motorhomes and trailers behind most of those people, I'd say 70-80% of those people were senior citizens. Senior citizens that had worked their entire lives, got the Canada pension or whatever their Canada pension was, and could not afford an apartment, food, and their medications. And they couldn't afford it. They couldn't afford to live, right? Like a 1-bedroom shack apartment in Vancouver is like $3,800 a month, right? And the landlords won't let you have more than, say, a couple living in there. So if you're not a couple, they won't let you rent a 1-bedroom. You have to rent a 2-bedroom. Now you're looking at closer to $5,000, right? And this is no fucking joke. This is the way it is. So these people are living in their vehicles after they had worked their entire lives because they can't afford to live, because the inflation has completely decimated their retirement fund. Like, it completely destroyed them. And this is what we're seeing, right? We're seeing families, like the guy works construction, the wife works at Superstore. They're living in a trailer in the Superstore parking lot because between the two of them, they don't make enough money. Again, this is another stupid thing that's I didn't know, but here I'm learning these things as we're driving around, and I verified them, so I know that it's true. A lot of rental companies in Canada, especially in Vancouver, but all over British Columbia, want you to have 3 times, the minimum of 3 times the income of what the rent is. Right? So Buddy's working construction as a laborer. He's making $25 an hour. His wife's working at Superstore, so she's making like $17, $18 an hour, whatever, just over minimum wage, right? There's no effing way that they're going to have the income to rent a 2-bedroom apartment for their 3 kids and them, right? If anyone will even rent them that for that amount of people, at between $3,000 and $5,000 a month. Plus feed them all, clothe them all, pay for any medications or like any of that. How? How do they do that? How do they do that? Right? And then everybody's mad that they're living in a trailer. Right? The Child and Family Services try and take away their kids. Right? The parking lot chases them out all the time. No one wants them to park anywhere. You can't park anywhere. To rent a frickin' parking spot to park your motorhome. Okay? Just to park your motorhome in British Columbia, if it's not a provincial park, which closed for the season and they're super hard to get into because people book a year in advance to get those spots, right? Is going to cost you $100 to $200 a night. Now, you may find the odd place that's a little cheaper. But but not really. I really had a hard time finding anything for under $100 a night. And then they have this 10-year rule. So unless your old motorhome is in absolutely perfect condition, right? It has to be 10 years old or newer, or they won't let you in the park. Right? So when you phone for a reservation, they ask you what year your camper is. Now, maybe not all of them, but the ones I checked into, they wouldn't allow this old beast in there. There's no freaking way. No way. I was denied over and over and over again, even at $100 a night. I did find one place way out in on the western side of Vancouver Island that was $50 a night, that didn't ask for any particular time or age range for their motorhomes or trailers. But it was in the middle of nowhere. Right? There's no nothing, baby. There's no nothing. It was an amazing sleep. We had an amazing time there, but there was nothing. So, I mean, you can't get a job. There's nothing. So you're hooped. So this is the world we're living in, right? This is what I saw just 2 years ago when I was touring British Columbia. I come back to Manitoba, right? And there's a city of about 8,000 people only, half an hour from where I'm staying right now. And I talked to the lady that runs the homeless shelter there. There's over 100 people in that community that are homeless, and they feed them every day. They live on the streets. It gets minus 40, minus 50 sometimes at night in the winter time in this part of Manitoba, Canada. And these people are fucking homeless. There's people in Winnipeg, same thing, same thing. They're living in tents. And I watched a thing on television or on the YouTube. It was, I think, CTV or whatever, Canadian Television Network or whatever. It showed the fire department and the police going to where these homeless people are in the middle of fucking winter at minus 30, minus 40 outside, and taking away their wood stoves because they were a fire hazard. Let's get in mind here, there are no more rooms for these people to go to shelters. There's no space available for anyone, anywhere in Canada. A lot of these people have mental health issues. They closed all the mental health facilities, or the majority of them, during COVID. They closed all these facilities that used to exist to help these people. Gone, closed. Like they're creating this problem on purpose. That's what it seems like to me. As I cruise the country and I check and I talk, because I like to flap my mouth, I talk to people and I hear what they say and I actually listen to them. And it seems to me, as a man that isn't easily brainwashed because I didn't take that stupid fucking jab, I saw that for what it was way before any of that happened. Thank God. The Canadian government is doing this on purpose. They're doing this on purpose. And you ask me why? Well, why? Why would they do such a thing, Chris? Because they're trying to crash the economy of our country. They're trying to make the majority of people so miserable, so broke, so hurting, that they have to accept this digital ID and this digital currency, and then they can control every aspect of our lives. The only way anybody is going to accept that kind of control from our government is if they're in absolutely dire straits, which is exactly what they're creating. And now you can call me a conspiracy theorist, you can call me all kinds of fucking names, whatever you want. But you didn't spend a year driving around in a motorhome talking to homeless people, meeting all these people. You didn't go to Dauphin, Manitoba and talk to the lady that runs the homeless shelter there and ask her what's going on. I did. I went and asked people in Winnipeg, people I know, because I grew up in Selkirk, just north of there. I asked them what's going on. They told me the same thing. Nobody wants to say, oh, well, the Canadian government's doing it on purpose and blah, 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 because that makes you sound like a crazy person, right? I'll say it. I'll say it because I see it. I see it blatantly, wide open. They're crashing our economy. They're destroying our country. They are destroying our country on purpose. And if we, the people that grew up in this country, don't stand up and start fighting for our rights, we are going to be very, very, very upset when they take away all of our rights. And you don't think they can? They sure can. As soon as they get a digital ID and a digital currency, they can dictate where you go, what you do, who you talk to, where every dime that you go spend goes. They can dictate all of that to you, and there's nothing you can do about it. Nothing you can do about it. That's it. That's the end goal. You're done. At that point, there's no fighting back. There's no fighting back because you won't be able to feed yourself. Especially in Canada, you won't be able to heat your house because they'll just turn your power off. They'll just turn your heat off, right? You don't pay the bill because they took away your digital currency. They'll just turn the heat off. Like there's rules, okay, if you have kids, they can only reduce the service so that they can keep it just above zero in the house, right? But I mean, you're living like an animal. Like no one wants to live like that. And then as soon as the summer comes, they just cut it off. They won't ever turn it back on. Right? Now, so now if you're renting a place and you get the power turned off, your landlord's going to kick your ass out. And then you're going to be on the street. Right? With a frozen digital ID and a frozen digital currency. So you don't have any money to buy any food. You can't rent anything. You can't go anywhere. Right? They have this stupid social credit score. If they implement that, well, then no one can help you, because if they help you, then their social credit score is going to go down and they're going to be homeless too. So we have to stand up and fight. We have to stand up and say no to all this shit. Anyone that's involved with the WEF and their plans for this 15-minute city and this digital currency and this digital ID and all this bullshit, they cannot be in power. They cannot be in power. We have to get them out of power. Somehow, some way, we have to do this. Or our country is gone, done, finished. And as soon as I don't see any way out, right? Either I'm going to take my van and I'm going to drive down south to Mexico or South America or wherever the fuck I can go that isn't doing all this stuff. Or I'm going to take my bicycle and I'm going to pedal my ass down there. If they don't let me drive my van, I will pedal my ass down there. I will walk out of this country if I have to. I didn't want to put these videos out. I didn't want to say this stuff. I didn't want to do this. I didn't want to do this. But I feel if I don't say something, then I'm just as bad. Pardon me. I'm part of the problem. I got my head in the sand, just like everyone else does, pretending it's not happening. Someone has to say something. Someone has to stand up. Someone has to start fighting. Someone has to do this. We have to do this. Other people have to join me in this. Otherwise, we're done, man. We're done. If you saw what I saw driving around in this motorhome 2 years ago, you would cry. I was crying some nights when I heard some of these people's stories. Right? Because I was living in this on my own choosing. Right? I thankfully can get a job where I make decent money. Right? So I don't have to be living in like $20 an hour jobs. Thank God. Thank God I have a skill set enough that that I can make more than that. Now, I'm far from rich. You know what I mean? Like, I'm far from rich, but I'm just one step above those people that can't afford to rent anything. Right? My plan before was to get my acreage that I own out here in the middle of nowhere and get solar and get wind and get all these things and hide from these problems. Right? I'm far enough away from any major city and whatever. It would take a long time for that stuff to trickle into my acreage area. But eventually it would come to me too. So I can't hide. I can't hide. And I don't want to run right now. I don't want to run away. Like, a lot of the people that have money in Canada are getting the hell out of this country. If they see what's going on, that they're getting out in record numbers because they see what I see. They see what I see. They see the government destroying this country on purpose. And again, oh, I got a wood tick. Again, it's sad to say that. Like when I was growing up, there's no way we would have thought that the government of Canada would be against its own people. But they are. They're bringing in all these unskilled migrants to keep the wages low. By keeping the wages low, all the people that are here that are lower skilled or whatever, like average people that just work at all the stores and do the general work of the area, they can't afford to live. The people they're bringing in, the immigrants or migrants or whatever you want to call them, they're used to living 5-10 people in a house. They have no problem with that. People here are not used to that. That's not what we're told we're supposed to be striving for. And the only reason they would bring all those people in here was to do exactly what they're doing, which is lowering the standard of living to the point that the average person that grew up here cannot exist in any meaningful way. You can't own a house. You can't save any money. You can't accumulate anything. You can't even barely rent anything. Right? I'm going to stop this video right away because I'm getting mad. But this is what's happening. This is what is happening in our country of Canada right now in 2026. It started with Mr. Trudeau. He started all of this shit. And then Mr. Carney just kept the party going, man. And it's worse and worse and worse and worse. I don't know which politician, if you could even get any of the politicians that are running for federal government, I don't know if any of them would be able to change what's going on or would want to. I think they're all part of the WEF. I think that we're in big, big trouble if we can't find a way out of this and if we can't get together and stand up against it. Call me a nutbag, call me a conspiracy theorist, call me all that, whatever you want. But go out there and look and talk to people. Do your research before you call me those things. Because if you go out there and you do your research, you're going to see that this is true. Okay, guys, thank you. And try to talk to you again tomorrow. Maybe, hopefully, about something a little more happy. Bye.